Okay, it looks like we are live, everyone. Welcome to the stream. We've got a pretty fun one today. We've got Demise locals here. Demise is the GX format in April 2007, based around YCS Anaheim, or actually SJC Anaheim, because they're SJC at that point, not YCSs. But anyways, it's been a fun format that we explored on the channel. It wasn't really played until we got our hands on it. And the main reason it wasn't played because it's very, very similar to Trooper format, which is the format following it, which includes the release of Force of the Breaker, including cards like Rise of the Storm Monarch and things like that. And also a slight change to the limited list where you actually hit Magical Stone Activation to one copy. So, Demise is very, very similar because, like, the Magical Stone Activation hit really mainly hit just, like, Diamond Dude Turbo, which isn't like the strongest deck in the world. It's a fine deck, don't get me wrong, but didn't really do much at the last tournament. Of course, these tournaments are pretty small, so, it didn't always his sort of thing, but yeah. Gerbil, I'm glad you enjoyed the thumbnail. I was like, how else can I make a thumbnail for this format that I haven't done before? And I was like, well, Demise, so, gotta incorporate that in there. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. But yeah, I cooked for that one there. Anyway, it's 3:01. I gave a last call for signups, didn't get any other signups, so I think I'm going to start the tournament off here. So I've got the challenge up here. I'm going to shuffle the seeds twice, just to sort of, make sure that we can agree on the randomness there. So shuffle the seeds twice, and yeah, we're getting this started here. So yeah, let's get this party started. There we go. And here is the tournament bracket. We got perfect 8, so 4 matches to go through. And yeah, we'll see how this goes, what decks people bring. And yeah. And Gerbil already made it to top 8. Congratulations. But yeah, as PJ says, you got to keep them eyes on the prize. And we'll see who keeps their eyes on the prize the best over the course of this event here. So the matches will start getting hosted soon. But if you want a quick refresher on the limited and ban list here, I've got it right here. Notable inclusions are that Dust Shoot is not on this list at all. It is at 3 copies, and Ring of Destruction is legal. So, that is a bit, it's something that you have to play around. Ring can make games end a lot quicker than they might otherwise, and it's just an important thing to know about. You always have to be considering, like, can my opponent have Ring? And if they do, what do I do about it? And you have things like Snatch Steal also limited, so this thing is around. Confiscation is also limited, so that thing is around. There's a lot of very powerful cards that are, still around. And some people don't like that. Some people, want the ban list of something like Perfect Circle format, where more of those power cards have been banned, and I don't blame them for that. From what I've played in Perfect Circle format so far, it's been really fun. I think the ban list is a major factor in that. But I do think there is something to be said about playing formats where you do have the sackier one-ofs around. Look at GOAT format success. GOAT is still a great format despite having Pot, Graceful, Duo. It's just cards you have to consider and play with and play around. And some people don't necessarily like that, and that's fine. Not every format's for every person. But I do think it's fun to sort of explore these formats and, show that sometimes, formats that may look kind of sacky on the surface can still be very fun. So but yeah, Clemens 12 going to open up here with a Goblin Attack Force. Definitely not a standard pick here. But, it's showing that they're on an interesting deck, and people have been cooking in this format. The last tournament was won by 6 Samurais, which was a deck that, it was on people's radar as a deck you could play, but wasn't really on people's radar as a deck that, like, would win an event, and it actually did win. So that's pretty cool. Again, these tournaments are very small, so, and also we've only had a couple of them, so that means that, like, it can be tough to really draw big conclusions about the metagame from those results, but it is still pretty cool to see those sorts of decks doing well. PJ says, yeah, I skipped out on playing this one. This and Trooper just aren't for me, and that's perfectly fine. I always say that, like, not every format is for every person. I know that for me personally, there are formats I've covered on the channel that I have not necessarily enjoyed as other people, and that is perfectly fine. Like, I'm very happy that people are enjoying them. For me personally, I don't enjoy them, but I'm not going to begrudge them for, enjoying them. And I think that, like, it's good to recognize which formats you like and which ones you don't. Because I feel like a lot of people also get hung up on certain formats. Like, there's been drama recently with, like, the Edison and Tengu communities where, like, basically a YouTuber released a video that was basically saying like don't play Edison, play Tengu instead, and like playing Edison's actually bad for like the game as a whole and all that stuff. And I don't really agree with that. I think a rising tide raises all ships. But I do think that it's sort of an example of someone getting so hung up on the fact that like people are enjoying Edison that they can't enjoy their own format, right? And I think you really do attract more flies with honey, and so like what you want to do if you want to promote a format is you want to sort of show how fun that format can be, because people aren't going to join a format just based on grievances with other formats. I mean, some people will, but the vast majority of a player base is not going to join because of that. They are going to join because they enjoy the format and they want to play the format and they enjoy the community and they think it's fun, right? Like, negativity can only get you so far. And Megamorph, okay, is this lethal here? 3,800 plus 24. Interesting that they put the Megamorph on the bug there. Oh, because they're metaing away. Oh, okay, yeah, this will be lethal because you go into Cyber Twin here, 38 plus 56, and that will be the end of the game. So, Gerbil taking game 1 on Demise OTK versus like an Earth aggro deck. Very, very cool stuff to see. Triple Card Trooper does mean that you can enable Earth aggro strategies a bit better because Card Troopers in Earth. Gigantes can get Earths in Grave a bit more easily. So, very, very cool stuff there. Let's dive into another game here. But yeah, no, I agree completely, PJ. I think it's also very silly. I try not to like, wade into that sort of controversy. Like, yeah, I'm not going to make a response video to it, or I didn't even comment on the original video that I saw because I didn't want to really fuel that, or give it any more attention. But like, I do hope that, we can just sort of move past it as a retro community, because infighting is not good, right? We're already a small enough community. Infighting just, fractures us even further. And I think the best thing to do, like, look at the 3v3s that are being run, at an official level, right? Like the 3v3s are, basically encouraging people to play all 3 formats, like Goat, Edison, and Tengu, right? So why would we want to then say, oh, don't play one of those, just play another, right? It doesn't really make sense. And also, as PJ says, the worst way to get people to try a different format is to tell them their choice format sucks. And I agree with that as well. Like, if you go around telling people like, oh, this format's a better version of this other format, right? You might grab some people with that, but you're not going to necessarily grab the core of the fan base for that given format, because they're like, well, I enjoy this format. Like, why, you're telling me this format sucks, but I already enjoy it. So that already tells us that, what we enjoy in the game might be misaligned. And so, why should I necessarily trust your opinion on this format? I'm just going to stick with what I enjoy, right? I think the better way to do it is like, that format's great. And also, if you want another sort of format to play as well, you can play this format, right? Like, that's always how I've tried to go about it. And, like, let's face it, the formats that we've, promoted on the channel are not necessarily huge ones with major followings on the level of like Goat or Edison, right? So, maybe I don't really know exactly what I'm talking about here, but I do think that like it's just like the sort of culture you want to cultivate. And I think Tengu Plant, it was really poised to be in a good spot. Like, it had a lot of momentum going for it. But then I think, honestly, I think the negativity really got to people. Yeah, and also there was like drama with other community and stuff. It's just the infighting really tore that down. And Tengu Plant is still going strong. Don't get me wrong. Like, people are still playing it. It still might be in the like 3v3 in this upcoming YCS Vegas. But like, it just feels. Yeah, I was wondering what that was when the square bracket semicolon Annex 2 was, but plain X2 in one pre-map. But it's just like I feel like it's not in a place where it could have been, right? And I feel like the best way to get to that place would have been to sort of embrace the sort of community aspect of like having Tengu, Goat, and Edison all together, and really embrace that, and it just sort of have a rising tide raise all ships. But that's just my opinion. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm not the person to really promote one format over another. Like, I've always said that on the channel. There are formats I really enjoy, and I think they could pop off. Chimera Tech, a great example of that. But I'm going for more. It's like depth versus breadth. I'm going for breadth, just covering a variety of different formats as opposed to going really deep into one. But I think the best way to do it is just make videos on one format and just really dive into that. But, oh, drawing another plane. So we know there's a plane set. We know that there are 2 planes in hand and 1 pre-mat engraved. So pre-mat is very good for getting back Demock, but what are you getting with Demock here? Like, Snatch Steal doesn't really do anything for you on this board, so I get holding the pre-mat for later. The unfortunate sort of thing here is that if you wait too long, then Jim Bob could draw into a way to remove your pre-mat, but it really depends on what else you've got engraved or in the back row here. So, yeah. Yeah, PJ, I agree 100% as well. Another thing is that not every format needs to be serious business, I find, and I agree as well, because I think, I think it's fun to just play a format that's a bit sackier sometimes, right? Like, Demise Format, if people really, wanted to make Demise Format the next GOAT, I think that people might get tired of that, because, they'd go into Demise expecting to be able to plumb, depths and depths of, incredible, retro play and stuff, and a meta that continually evolves over time and stuff. I'm not saying that Demise can't have that, but I am saying that the sackiness of the format does mean that I think that people would get tired of it if it was the only thing they were playing for a while. And so my philosophy has always been you can have these formats that are your main love, right? That you devote all your time to. But eventually you might get tired of those. And I think when you do get tired of those, it's not bad to have a format or two that you enjoy playing beyond that, just to sort of have a bit of a change of pace sometimes. And having a non-serious format, a format where you can just throw some cards down, maybe think a bit less, or just think along a different axis, because I think a lot of these formats do take thought, no matter what's going on in them. I do think that it's a very, very healthy thing to have, and it can make it so that you don't get burned out on the game. So that's my opinion on things here, and hopefully more people sort of adopt that as well, because I think it's healthy for the community as a whole. But if people do want to one-trick a format, that's also fine. I don't begrudge them that. MSD now drawn, so it seems like they didn't have that before, because they would have used it on pre-map probably. Skull Lair, very cool in this deck. You can banish the Scout Planes and then, get them back. That's very neat. But Spy getting flipped up. Spy bringing out another Gravekeeper from deck here. Do you bring out a Spy in defense or attack? Or looks like they're bringing out a Guard in defense, but that's going to be met with a TT here. TT going to blow up the board. Guard, of course, a good card to play in these decks because it's a crush card target. But crush card's engraved, so I think they're just getting out of the deck. They might have another Spy in hand or something like that. Reaper attacking in, though, ripping a Scout Plane out of the hand. We know that, actually, we know there's a Snatch Steal on a Scout Plane, so Snatch Steal can clear the Reaper. And they do hit the Scout Plane, not the Snatch Steal, so next turn, Morbid Obesity can just Snatch Steal the Reaper here, pop it that way. But I think Jim Bob's probably fine with that trade. The Reaper already dealt with 1 card in hand, and now it's dealing with 1 other card in hand just by trading. So I think that, this was a pretty good position for Jim Bob to be in here. We'll have to see exactly what Morbid Obesity can do in this situation to claw their way back here. But it might be a bit tough. I don't know if this turn is still under Crush Card or not. I don't think it is, but we'll see. Exiled Force being used to pop the Reaper. That's also a 1-for-1 trade. Choosing not to attack into the Reaper just in case there's a Saku set. I think that makes sense. Because, you don't want to be like, oh, I can Exiled Force clear the Reaper, but I want to get greedy with that extra 700 damage. You just want to pop the Exiled Force and potentially not just clear that backer. Although you could argue here that, you go for Exiled Force, it baits out the back row potentially, and then, you can Snatch Steal the Reaper away, so, you've dealt with their board entirely. But then they still have 3 cards in hand to do stuff with you next turn, so not necessarily ideal. Snatch Steal can take that Zaborg, but Jim Bob probably knows about the Snatch Steal, so, Morbid Obesity has to think here, do I just go for it? Can I afford not to go for it? And I think at this point, if you don't have anything else in hand, you just have to go for it, right? Because, you're basically dead on board. If Jim Bob's just bluffing that they have a way to deal with Snatch Steal, then you potentially, stabilize a little bit here. But you can't necessarily afford not to go for this play, even though there are many things it loses to. I think that is a skill that, takes some time to cultivate here. Just in general for players where, oftentimes people can be a bit, oh, yep, Ring will end the game. As I mentioned, Ring, very, very important here. It does not have its eroded card text, so you can actually use it to end the game. And you can activate it at any time, not just your opponent's turn. So Ring is the good Ring, and it did its thing there. So let's see, we got, let's dive into Dump Truck versus Wagamuffin, and then we'll dive into Dom versus Helio. So Dump Truck's playing with a Inject Fairy Lily, very interesting stuff here, reasoning as well. So 6 Sams, that makes sense. 6 Sams, very, very cool deck. I mentioned that it could win a tournament before. And Wagamuffin seems to be playing a Machine OTK deck, although the banishes are very interesting there. Not necessarily played all too often in the deck, but I could see it making sense for like reasoning, also for I guess Grandmaster can still trigger when banished, so it doesn't really matter for that. But if you reasoning hit a Grandmaster and get it banished, you can't loop it anymore, right? So I think that makes sense. But Yaichi coming down here. Is there a Grandmaster in hand to then pop a backer? There is indeed. So Grandmaster coming down there. And Yaichi popping one of those back rows, just clearing that. Threatening Roar getting hit. Honestly, you're probably okay with that. And then, oh, a great Shogun Shien coming down as well. I actually don't know if retroactively, like when you summon Great Shogun Shien after your opponent's already activated one spell and trap, if they can activate another one, but it looks like it didn't matter that turn. But yeah, definitely has a bit of counter synergy with the Phoenix and UFO for Banisher. So very interesting choice there, but I don't know, I don't hate it because it can hurt this style of deck a bit. So also you can like sort of that's the thing about some floodgates, like you can sort of play your cards around them and like play your floodgate when you know that it's not going to hose your strategy. It's a bit of a delicate balance to sort of get right, but like it can work. So I think if you're Wagamuffin, you probably just attack the turtle into the Yaichi, I would guess. Like you're not dead here next turn because you're taking 11 plus 7 with the turtles. So yeah, you're not dead, and getting the Yaichi means that your back row is preserved. So yeah, I think that just going for that. Oh, popping the Grandmaster, very interesting there. You don't get the loop there, but you will. No, actually, you won't even be able to get the Yaichi off next turn because Shien is not a 6-Sam. So bit of an interesting play there. I might have just let the Grandmaster go through because if Grandmaster gets popped, you get back like the Yaichi or the Iroh. So like effectively, it's a better card for you. But nope. You can't Yaichi. No, you can't Yaichi. Okay, looks like Wagamuffin caught it. Yep, looks like Wagamuffin caught it. Okay, whew. We didn't get the board state messed up. But yeah, Wagamuffin definitely very good at these old formats. Dump Truck also very good at these old formats, of course. Both of them very, very good. And this is sort of the iffy spot because like, again, Mirror Force gone, so you don't need to worry about that necessarily. And also, Shien can pop the Yaichi as well if Wagamuffin chooses to activate a back row to stop it. But it is kind of awkward because now they can just attack over the Yaichi next turn either way here. So, yeah, I think this was a mistake. I think Dump Truck thought that they could use Yaichi on the following turn, which would make sense for, popping the Grandmaster. But Grandmaster is generally a better card to go for. And here you probably just, no, why would you do this? Why would you keep the Yaichi around? You can still pop the Yaichi. I mean, maybe they want the Yaichi around, but Grandmaster is generally, or Great Shogun Shien is generally a better card here to keep around. Yeah, I mean, Dump Truck might still win this because if they draw into another 6-Sam, they could just win the game off that potentially. But I think they made some very crucial misplays here. Yeah, pre-mat for the Cyber Dragon, and now that Yaichi is gone. Got no cards. 6-Ams can't really play with no cards. You can potentially draw something decent here, like a pre-mat of Dump Truck's own would be very good, of course. But yeah, I mean, this was, I think Dump Truck had this in the bag, and unfortunately, they were not able to pull it out. But 6-Ams are a tough deck to play. But yeah, they also might have forgotten the Great Shogun Shien's effect. I mean, it could have also been just in their head because like the Yaichi couldn't trigger, so they were like, oh, Shien can't trigger off Yaichi. So, there's a couple different things that could have caused that. But yeah, either way there, that was rough. But I mean, 6-Ams are a tough deck to pilot, so makes sense. Dump Truck, of course, is a very, very good retro player. I mean, they've won many of these locals in the past. So, yeah. Okay, it looks like Gerbil won against Clemens. I'll put that into the sheet here. So they're going to be facing the winner of Jim Bovard's Child Obesity, and, of course, Wagamuffin beat Dump Truck, which we just saw. So, yeah. We're getting to the, I guess, semifinals. Is that what it would be? But, yeah. So, Dimensional Fissure up here with the 6-Ams. So, see, 6-Ams are playing Dimensional Fissure here, which is kind of funny. So, Banisher doesn't necessarily do much against them themselves, but looks like there was a misclick there. But either way, Dom Kaiser will take that one. Yeah. So that's the end of game 2 there, going into game 3. Any other games wrapped up here? Looks like those are the only ones wrapped up. So I do want to get one. I want to watch an actual game between Dom Kaiser and Helio, because we basically watched an entire game between Jim Bob and Child Obesity. So yeah, let's watch one game with this, and then if the Jim Bob versus Child Obesity match is still going on, we'll dive back into that one. But this one should be interesting. I mean, I love seeing 6Ams play. I hope Helio makes it. I mean, nothing against Dom Kaiser, but like I just love 6Ams to deck, and so I'd like to see it make it relatively far, but yeah, or maybe at least to the next round, because I just love 6Ams. I think it's a cool deck. But yeah, it's interesting. I wonder what would have happened if Dump Truck had played those final turns a little bit differently, like keeping around the Grandmaster instead of the Yaichi, and then popping the Grandmaster once the Xian was in a bad spot. But we may never know. TJ Arts of Darkness says 6Ams have a bit of an edge here in comparison to Trooper, and I guess Zombie and PC. Yeah, it's kind of interesting seeing the like trends of decks. Like I think Demise is probably the best format for playing decks that you would want to play in Trooper or PC, because you don't necessarily have yeah, and that gets sent bottom deck, so you don't actually you know, send it to grave. So the Dim Fizz won't matter there. But yeah, because like basically when Perfect Zero Monarch is worse, you know, other decks get better, right? Because Perfect Zero Monarch gains the most from the release of Force of the Breaker and the ban list and stuff like that. So Demise ODK, 6Ams, all those things are a bit better in this format than they will be later. So sort of a niche that Demise can occupy. But yeah, ring on the Sidra, and that'll get banished here. So it will get banished. Get it out of there. Get it out of that grave. Yep, they got it. Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. Shutting off the attack over the Diamond Dude. Seems like 6Ams might be bricking a little bit, which is what 6Ams can do. So it's a bit awkward there. I wonder if they cut out the reasoning stuff because they're on Fisher, but I don't think you necessarily need to. Oh, Reaper. That is going to be a bit annoying here if it's a 6Am. That 6Am's gone. I wonder if they're playing Return in the deck. Return is another side deck card that you can bring in for potentially if you bring in the Dim Fizz, because, you know, if you get a bunch of monsters banished, you can bring them all back, and that's pretty good. Did that hit the Grandmaster? Are they, because, you know, there's a bit of delay there. Okay, hitting a Xian. That's also pretty rough there. Yeah, you want the Xian in rotation there, but unfortunately they were not able to do it. I mean, to be fair, like Xian going to grave versus banished is like not too crazy. Oh no! Oh, that's nasty. And what will happen here is the Crush Guard virus will trigger while the Dim Fizz is up on field. So Crush Guard will indeed banish the other things here. So yeah, that is nasty. Nasty. Oh my word. Yeah, it's gonna be that might be the end of the game there, honestly. Lightning Vortex is coming next turn. Okay, it looks like nothing was hit there anyways, so it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, reading, you gotta go for something here. Not looking too good. Not looking too good. I wonder why they brought in Crow. I guess you can hit some things, but okay, you get a Zanji here. Zanji pretty decent. You can attack over the Diamond Dude. But like, this is a bad spot to be in. Vortex coming down next turn to blow up the board. Yeah, I don't know. This is going to be rough. CCV is a rough card. It's a reason why many people don't even like Perfect Circle format. So, like, in these formats, I don't blame them for not wanting to play with it. I'm of the opinion where, like, yeah, you want to just play in CCV in any format where it's around. I'm like, you know, I get the argument for, like, most people didn't have the cards. But I do think that, it's like, you know, if we're playing a retro format in retrospect, right, we're kind of playing with all the cards available to us anyways, and we're playing with optimization that did not exist at the time. So, like, realistically, you can't, like, police things like, oh, you know, people having Crush Card or not having Crush Card, or having a prize card or not having a prize card. You can't really police that. So I'm generally of the opinion where you just play with prize cards in the format, unless there are, like, legitimately less than 6 of them available in the format here. I don't think this actually does anything here. Oh, wait, no, you can. Yeah, because in your graveyard. Yeah, so that makes sense. So yeah, that's pretty decent here, attacking in for 32, and then they could potentially use the Diamond Dude effect here as well. Oh, are they not using the effect? Interesting. I feel like you want to use the effect. To get like a reasoning that's pretty good for you. I guess there's the argument like you hit a 6am and it's bad, but like effectively like the top card of your deck is a crapshoot no matter what it is. It's just sort of like a random thing. So I think like even if you hit a monster and put it at the bottom of the deck, the next card could be a monster. So I think you just go for the Diamond Dude anyways here. But you know, I think it's relatively fine. Diamond Dude coming down here. Diamond Dude milling a Card Trooper. Okay. Probably not too upset about that if you're Helio. And Card Trooper goes to the bottom of the deck. I mean, I guess you could argue as well for Helio here that, like, if you draw into Reasoning, you're effectively getting a monster anyways. So, like, you don't really care about going for the Diamond Dude mill. But I argue that's maybe more reason to go for Diamond Dude mill. I don't know. It's a bit tricky here. But Diamond Dude crashing into the Diamond Dude over there. And just leaving Helio with a Zanji. And passing back. Okay, this could be the end of the game if Helio top decks a Grandmaster here. So Elizabeth Mayer asks, is there any historic prize cards that are considered healthy and impactful for the formats? They often seem to lean towards the Saki side of things or irrelevant. You could argue Gold Sark is relatively healthy at like increasing the consistency of some decks. But I think Gold Sark generally is used just for like nastiness, like with Necroface stuff. I'd argue the Shrink is probably healthy for things. Just I feel like battle traps are very fair in general, and like having another battle trap in the form of Shrink is a pretty good one. But yeah, I feel like most prize cards are just kind of like, ugh, like a bit nasty. Yaichi popping that back row, that's pretty good. They're hitting a Magical Stone activation. No spells engraved that you'd really want to get back here, so it makes sense. Zanji attacking into the set, and as a note, Zanji can pop it no matter what it is. So even if it's like a, I guess Reaper is engraved already, or Reaper has not been used up. Okay, but this is interesting. I think it will. Will it be destroyed by battle, or will it be destroyed by card effect? I think it will be destroyed by card effect here. I think Zanji does indeed pop the Fearmonger. Yeah, I think it's popped. I could be wrong about that. But I believe it does work that way. Yeah, so that's very good because the Fearmonger will not bring back a Diamond Dude and potentially give Dom Kaiser another spell mill or just another body on board to attack in with. So yeah, this is a pretty formidable board state for Helio here. We know they've got BrainCon as well, so if Dom Kaiser ever does commit monster to board and does not kill Helio here, then, you know, Helio can potentially crack back and kill them. So they're going for the Snipe Hunter, trying to pop both those. Mali's a pretty good pitch there. And there goes the Zanji. So they are going to let that be popped. I feel like, honestly, I would want to pop the Yaichi here because so if you're like Helio's trying, right? Like you're like, okay, I'm going to replace the Zanji with the Yaichi. And then they have to use another Snipe Hunter pitch to potentially try and get over that. If they don't, then, you know, they can't attack in and your life points are safe. So I feel like I probably would have done that. Yeah, because now they can just beat over the Yaichi, attack in with Mali, and then you're in kind of a rough spot. But yeah, again, 6M is very, very tough deck to pilot and figure out. And there is a chance that like they would potentially pitch their other, but yeah, okay, yeah, they just realized. Yeah. Oh wait, did they reveal for a crush card? I don't think they did, but they didn't draw into Zanji, did they? They reasoning into Zanji. So the Yaichi wouldn't matter there. Yaichi was summoned anyways. So yeah, this is fine. This would be fine. Well, it was a Yaichi draw. Like we knew that it was Yaichi drawn because they or do we know it's Yaichi drawn? Yeah, I think Yaichi was drawn at some point, but okay, so yeah, Iroh was in hand. Okay. Yeah, so Iroh popped. Makes sense. Oh, Sidra pops as well. Oof, that's rough. Yeah, so now he'll lose the game here, actually, because BrainCon for... Well, actually does... I think Sidra was... Because 1, 2... Yaichi was drawn as well. I think it might not be, right? Wait, why can't... Oh, I think this turn might not be under Crush Card. I don't know if it is. Yeah, because I don't think this turns under CCV because it was the draws were Yaichi and Iroh, and you only get 2 draws after a CCV activated during your turn. So, um, yeah, because Sidra is out of the Yep, Yaichi was drawn last turn. So this should be lethal. This should be lethal because you got BrainCon and Snipe. So, yep. So this is still lethal. Helio still managed to pull it out. Yeah. So Cyber Dragon coming down here, and BrainCon should wrap it up. Yep, BrainCon for the Snipe. Yep, there we go. And that's going to be the end of the game. So, lucky for Helio, they did make it, manage to make it through that, unless there's a Karibo in the hand, but it looks like there is not. So, 6Am's moving on to the next round there. Both players put up a very, very good fight there. But Helio will be moving on to the next round. Let's see. Let's check in on Jim Bob versus Obesity. Okay, it looks like Jim Bob won. So Jim Bob will be moving on to face Gerbil. So we've got a fairly diverse set of decks here in this tournament right now. So Jim Bob and Gerbil is going to happen pretty soon. Seems like Gerbil has to take care of something first, briefly. So we'll dive in to Helio versus, let's see, Helio versus Wagamuffin. Once that gets set up, but should be pretty fun. Let's see, where is it? I don't think they've started hosting yet, but they will be soon. So, yeah, CDV is tough. It's tough to remember sometimes, especially if a lot of things are happening and a lot of things are there to think about. It'd be tough to remember to reveal all CCV. So, both players' responsibility to do it, right? So, you know, you want to make sure that even if like if you're the opponent, you want to make sure to do it. But if you're the player who had CCV, you also want to make sure to do it. So yeah, good to keep track of. Looks like Wagamuffin is hosting here, so we'll be diving into that one pretty soon. But yeah, luckily the CCV worked out properly there in the end, so it's all good. It all worked out well. And we'll see how 6Am's does against Wagget's deck, which is a machine OTK deck, I think, based on limit removal, based on the UFO turtles, things like that. So, as far as I know, I haven't really seen any Monarchs in this format, which is pretty interesting because Monarchs is a very, very good deck here. But it makes sense given that we're covering Perfect Circle on the channel currently, although I need to make more videos on Perfect Circle because I've been falling behind in my coverage. I've just been busy IRL. So, yeah, but I'm going to try and up the rate of those videos coming out. The way I see it, I've got a fair amount more decks to cover in it, but like not too much. I should be able to do it by either the end of January or early February. I have to cover Macro Monarch. I have to cover Big City, Ocean Control. Those are 3 already. Cloudians I want to cover. 6Ams I got to cover. And those 5... I think those are the main ones I want to cover. I think after those, I can't think of any others right now. Let's see, are there any other good deck that got support in Gladiator Assault? I guess I could do an Evil Hero deck, but like Evil Heroes really aren't good until they get Dark Calling. So I don't know if I want to cover an Evil Hero deck. It would just be really bad. Like, really, really bad. Because Dark Fusion's like, the protection effect on Dark Fusion's fine, but like, having to have the materials in hand and field is just kind of rough. So you can't really do as crazy stuff. So yeah, I probably will wait till Dad return for Evil Hero, as PJ says. So yeah, that's what I'll do there. I still have like 5 videos, more videos for Perfect Circle right now, as far as I can sort of forecast. So yeah, hopefully people enjoy it. And if there are any other decks that people want me to play, let me know. And I can consider them and cover them as well. Because Perfect Circle, I really do enjoy it. I think it does deserve more coverage. It's a great format. One of the best of the GXR, in my opinion, because the ban list finally resembles something relatively reasonable. And the card pool isn't too crazy. Like Dad Return just cranks up the power level of the game to a whole nother level. And things get pretty crazy there. Oh my goodness. I don't know what that visual glitch was, but hopefully it doesn't cause things to be weird in the game itself. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed the sneak peek of Dad Return from the Wheel Wednesday episode as well, because that was fun. It was fun just, playing with such high power decks. And I can already tell that that will be a sort of fun sacky format, right? A format where you just throw cards down and sack, sack, sack. I mean, FTKs are also things you can do in that format. I don't know if they're like the best thing you could be doing or how consistent they are. If they are super consistent, it might make the format like very unplayable. But I think it's still I don't know. I had fun playing it, but there'll be a format that you have to take a bit non-seriously. Smashing ground here on the Zanji. Kind of interesting that they went for the smashing ground there and instead of trying to bait out a back row and then doing smashing in main 2. I'm not really sure what they were worried about there. Like rush recklessly maybe, but like I don't think that's something that 6Ms really play that much here. But I guess Shrink. Shrink is something that they could have been worried about. Which 6Ms could play Shrink. I could see that. But I don't know how good it is in the deck. But yeah, either way, like, I mean, they probably have other 6Ms that they can do stuff with. So I don't know. Sidra of Helio's trying to own the Dark Sidra this time, and that's going to get bottomless here. But probably not the worst bottomless if you're Helio. Probably relatively okay with that if you got another monster in hand to do stuff with, but it seems like they do not, so they're just going to set one pass back. So that's a bit unfortunate for Helio here. Seems like they might be in a pretty tough spot if they can't clear that Sidra. I think you do just want to clear it here. But maybe they've got the Shrink. I don't know. They're taking these hits from the Sidra every time, so maybe it is Shrink in the background. Maybe Wagamuffin predicted correctly there. We'll have to see over the course of this game what will happen. Snatch Deal on the Sidra is going to be pretty decent here for Helio, getting a 2100 guy. If you got, Yaichi, okay. So Yaichi attacking in for 34. So they have to have like Solemn or something back here because Heavy Storm just cooks them. But maybe they're like, well, I lose if I don't play in Heavy Storm, so I'm just going to play into it. But I mean, either way, this is not a bad situation for Helio to be in. YM doesn't really have any machines set up here. Sidra coming down again, though. That could be a bit worrying here. Helio thinking about this. They might have TT set. Looks like they will be fine, though. Sidra going to attack into the Yaichi here. If there is a Shrink in the back row, that can be used here, but it looks like there's no Shrink. So that's going to just eat the Yaichi. And, yeah, it's going to be a bit unfortunate for Helio here. Wagamon setting a card as well, so there could be a variety of things here, like UFO Turtle. It could be, I mean, if it was Trooper, you'd probably just get aggressive with the Trooper, crash the Sidras in. It's probably a Turtle. It looks like Helio's just going to crash the Sidras together. I think that makes sense. You don't want to keep giving Wagamuffin life points here. And if you have the read that it's a recruiter, you don't necessarily want to go into that anyways. So Helio's just going to set one more pass back. So it seems like they're a bit low on monsters. That is sort of a flaw of 6Ms. If you don't draw into your Grandmaster stuff or ways to get into more monsters, it can be a very, very rough deck to play. But Sidra Phoenix coming down here. Will that be okay? Helio thinking about this. They are thinking about this one. That will bait out the TT. So we could potentially have the read that it was TT, and it looks like they had the Sangan set. So, Sangan plays in that pretty well. You get to search out something with Sangan, potentially a Card Trooper. I think Card Trooper is not a bad pick here. Just being able to mill some cards to grave, potentially more machines. You can get the draw off that. But we'll have to see if they search that out. They could also search out just a UFO Turtle or a Cyber Phoenix. Look like they're going to search out a UFO Turtle there, keeping board presence and stuff set up. So I'm setting one, passing back to Helio here. And Helio's going to set one pass back. Oh my goodness, all that back row, nothing to show for it. And, it's really rough to be in this situation 6Ms, because even if you draw into a 6M here, it doesn't really do much on its own. The 6Ms really need other 6Ms to really reach their full potential. Otherwise, it's just big beat sticks. And, yeah, it's going to be kind of rough for Helio here. UFO Turtle coming out, attacking him for 14. And it looks like Helio will ring that. Makes sense because, once the UFO Turtle's attacked in, the ring gets a lot worse for you here. So, drawing Wagon down to 4,200. Not the worst spot for Helio to be in. Not the worst spot for Wagon to be in, but it's definitely a tough spot for Helio to get out of. And Wagon's definitely in the driver's seat here. Call's going to be rough here. Probably call, yeah, Sidra makes sense. Solemn will be activated in response to that. Makes sense. We figured that they had a Solemn there. And Helio had to do it to survive. So, Helio drawing for turn here. Will it be something that can get them out of the spot? Looks like no. So, it could be a Sidra, could be a Grandmaster, could be a Shien as well. Looks like Wagon doesn't have any monsters to capitalize on this, though. So, they're just going to set one pass back. And will Helio bring out a monster to try and beat in here? It looks like they're going to bring out an Iroh. That's going to be fine by Wagamuffin. And there is the Grandmaster. So, okay, Grandmaster online. This makes things a little bit better here. They're going to attack in for 3,800. Mirror Force will clear both of those if there's no Solemn in the back row. I think if there is Solemn, you just go for it. You do lose to Sidra, though. That is the downside. But, like, you probably do have to just keep this online because you're losing to a normal summon if you just let that go through. So dropping Wagon down to 400 life points here, and one backer on Helio's side. Will that be enough to stop a Sidra coming down from Wagon if they've got it? True Nade on the back row. That's a bit scary here because it means they might have the third Sidra in hand. Helio, thinking about this, you probably do have to, book down the Iroh here to protect against a Sidra. That is indeed, I think, in my opinion, the correct play to make. And Wagamuffin thinking about this now. Yeah, because now the Sidra becomes a bit less good here. I mean, you probably still go Sidra attack over the Iroh, but like, oh, it's a bit of a scarier spot to be in for sure. But yeah, I do feel like they've got a Sidra in hand. I think that's the main reason why you'd go for True Nade. If you've got Overload, you still win. So I don't think they'd be thinking that much at this point. So I think it's just like they got Sidra. They got to figure out whether to commit it or not. I think you have to commit it here because you're 400 life points. So you go Sidra, tag over the Iroh, and then next turn you leave the Grandmaster to crash with the Sidra. But it is definitely an awkward spot. A very, very fragile spot too. But both players are in a fragile position. It really does depend on what Helio draws here and what Wagamuffin's last card in hand is. Very intense game. This has been a nail biter. Now, as a note, Grandmaster will not get to recycle a card when destroyed by battle, just by card effect. So, something else they could be considering here, if they've got a Book of Moon of their own or something like that, you can book down the Grandmaster and attack in with the Sidra. I feel like, personally, you don't need to do that because you can just book down the Grandmaster in the following turn. But, potentially, if they draw, like, a Yaichi or something, then you're in trouble. But you can just chain the book to the Yaichi, and then they're dead. So, actually, that's not really a consideration they need to think about. So, yeah. Oh, summon out Dekoichi. Okay, so you're clearing the whole board here. Okay, I get why they're thinking so hard. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Clear that Iroh. Crash with the Grandmaster. You're dead to a Zanji top deck, but that's sometimes what you need to do. Will Helio draw into a way to deal with this? Oh, it's just the Shien. Oof, that is rough. So that's going to be the end of the game there. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying, where, like, the deck does suffer in top deck mode. If you draw into your Shien, you draw into Grandmaster off the top, then that would indeed be not good. But I will say, interesting stuff there that Wagamuffin would have actually been able to win the game probably if they had set the Dekoichi there anyways, because Shien wouldn't do anything. But I do think it makes sense to crash in with the Grandmaster and then attack over the Iroh, because you're putting them onto basically Zanji or bust, right? Even if they draw an Iroh off the top, that can't kill you. If they draw Sidra off the top, then that also does kill you. But if they draw Sidra off the top, then, I mean, if it's Sidra off the top, then I guess they wouldn't kill you with... No, they would, because they just tribute over the Iroh for the Sidra and then kill the Dekoichi anyways. So, yeah, the situation... Yeah, I think it made sense. I think it made sense to do that, personally. You're dead to so few things that it makes sense to just go for that. One Zanji was gone, one Sidra was gone. So, yeah. But, definitely a very interesting game. And a very intense game. I mean, I love 6Ams. I think the matchup with Machine OTK very interesting as well. Let's dive into Jim Bob versus Gerbil here. See how that matchup's going. Seems like it's 1-1. Okay. And seems like the Sonic Birds are going to go for an advanced ritual art here. And are they going to do anything with that advanced ritual art, or are they just going to pass here? I think it's turn 1 for Gerbil. So I think that means that Gerbil won game 1 and lost game 2. And it looks like they're just going to pass. So in Jim Bob's court now. I will say something interesting here. Okay, it looks like Stratus coming down, so that's going to get a search. So maybe Jim Bob's on Monarchs, actually. They could be on a sort of like proto form of Perfect Circle Monarch without the rises. But I will say something about Demise, that it can get hard-sided against. Like, Trap Dust Shoot is very, very good against this deck. What you do is you wait for them to go for the ritual play, and then you Dust Shoot back the ritual monster, and then they're just like dead in the water, basically. Dash Shoot getting fired here in draw or standby. I mean, that also is fine. Mind Crush is also very good because you can Mind Crush away whatever they've got off of Manju or Senju, or if they're going for an advanced ritual art play, you just Mind Crush the ritual monster and they wasted 2 cards to your 1. So, yeah, it's definitely a tough deck to play post sideboard. So, looks like the Manju getting shuffled back there. So, that to me means that they've either got an answer to Demise or there's no Demise in hand. But we'll probably see what's in that hand after they type it out in the chat here. Seems like there is a Demise, actually. 2 Advanced Ritual Arts, 1 Roar, 1 Megamorph, and 1 Metal. What's Metal? What do you think? Metal Armored Bug, maybe? Probably Metal Armored Bug. Metal Armored Bug is not what you want to have in hand here, but I think the move for Gerbil here, honestly, is just go Demise. I mean, there is the risk that they Mind Crush the Demise away, but yeah. Hello, Papa Perez. Happy to have you in the stream. We got a pretty fun one today. We got the Demise locals. So we've been seeing some pretty intense games. I really like this format. I think it's very fun. I don't think it could reach the level of a, Chimera Tech or a, Perfect Circle format in the GX era, but it definitely is one of the better GX formats in my opinion. I mean, it's not hard to do actually, because like almost half the GX formats out there are like Stein formats, which are like not everyone's cup of tea for good reason. But yeah, there goes the Demise. You're prioing the Demise, and that's going to run into a threatening Roar. Okay, makes sense. Why they weren't too afraid of the Demise coming down here. You probably just threat the Roar of, or set the Roar of your own, and have that in case you like Snatch Steal. Well, Snatch Steal doesn't do anything with Demise actually, so Snatch on Demise is just kind of bad, honestly, because the Demise pops your own Snatch Steal. But yeah, it is a bit of an interesting spot to be in. If Jim Bob forces Gerbil to pay again next turn, it looks like they are going to do that, so that will clear the Roar. So that's another thing about Demise. You can potentially clear their own stuff. But you don't necessarily go for that unless you've got game here, which they might have. If there are many, many ways to get into game. Although it can be a bit tricky here. Gerbil definitely thinking, because clearing their own Roar is obviously a bit painful. But if you want to get aggressive here, it might just be the best thing to do. They didn't have a way, well, they could have actually had a way to take control of the Demise last turn. Maybe they were saving it because they knew about the Roar. I think you still make that trade, potentially. I don't know. Or you just figure they're going to pop their own Roar. So, MST and Disc Commander are gone. And that's going to pop the Roar as well, attacking him for 24. And this is a bit of a scary spot to be in. No back row. So, BrainCon plus another monster will do it here. So, we'll have to see if that actually does work out. As a note, BrainCon plus another monster would have still killed if Gerbil had not popped everything on board with Demise. Because, MST was in the back row. So, Jim Bob would have just MST'd here. Or at the end of the last turn. So, it would have still worked out. And they're asking if the main is okay. So, I feel like Demise play is coming down here. Yeah, Ring would be really bad here for Gerbil. That would kill them outright. And Dust Shoot's getting chained to that. Okay, Dust Shoot's pretty good here, depending on what's in the hand. But yeah, no more Demise activations here. So that's going to send the Demise that was drawn. Damn, that's rough. But yeah, you probably do have to pop everything. That does get Jim Bob another draw, though, so that's kind of rough. Insect Knight coming down. Is this lethal? Oh, this actually is lethal. Never mind. So that's, yeah, Megamorph on one of them, and then you just attack him with that, then attack him with the other, and that is GG. So, yeah, very intense there. Demise winning another one. Going into this format, people thought Demise was a bit past its prime. People figured, like, oh, it loses hard to, like, Dust Shoot or Mind Crush or things like that, and people weren't really playing Dust Shoot at the time, so that's why it won an event. But now that we know about that technology, people won't be able to win with it. But, people have shown time and time again, Gerbil is one of those people. People have shown that, like, it can indeed win a fair amount of games, and it can do that well. It's the Jim Bob versus, the Wagamuffin versus Helio game is over. So Wagamuffin did win. So Wagamuffin is facing off against Gerbil in the finals here. Let's go. And yeah, so we'll be able to watch that one. I'll put up a poll here in the YouTube chat. Just, if you want to sort of weigh in on who will win. Who will win? And the choice is going to be Gerbil, aka on Demise OTK. Or will it be Wagamuffin on Machines? So let's see who will win this one. Definitely could go either way. They're both very, very good duelists, and they've been showing that their decks are up to snuff here throughout. Okay, it seems like 1 vote for Gerbil already. 2 votes for Gerbil. Okay, so it seems like Gerbil is the front runner so far. But, you never know. We'll have to dive into the games. And we got Gerbil versus Wagga. Let's see who does it. Okay, it seems like Wagamuffin going first here. So they are going to draw for turn. They can get a Fufu play set up early. That's going to be very, very good. Because, Demise, of course, is the one that, always OTKs, but machines can definitely OTK. There are setups where they just kill in one turn, getting out the Chimera tech and just annihilating the opponent. So, we'll have to see if they're able to set that up. But, of course, the confiscation coming down will complicate Gerbil's own plans here. Now, there are hands that Demise OTK can draw that, like, confiscation can't actually un-OTK, right? So, yeah. It is called Demise Format after all. We need a Demise win, as Papa Perez says. And, yeah, that is a very good point. Demise actually did very well in the last tournament for Demise. So, did see representation there, but unfortunately hadn't really been able to do much after that. But, I mean, to be fair, not many more events have been held in the format after that. So, coffee for the ARA is going to be pretty good here. Leaving them with a Snatch, a Bird, a Manju, and a Dozer. So that makes sense why you get rid of the ARA. You force Gerbil to basically summon the Bird next turn, or to summon the Manju, search out like Demise. But Deshu can also snipe some of those monsters there. Going for 3 sets and a Phoenix there. So that's a pretty formidable board state, even if it may not seem that way. Being shut off Snatch, and yeah, so it's kind of rough here. They're seeing main's okay, seeing if there's like a dust shoot or something there, which makes sense because, they probably have the read that there might be a dust shoot in the back row. Sonic Bird coming down, searching out an ARA most likely. And, yeah. Jenkins says, I like the Sonic Bird season play in this format. Cool card ritual. Decks and other formats don't play it. Yeah, I really do like Sonic Bird. I think it's really cool. And it does have its niche because searching out the ARA is very, very important. And so, Sonic Bird sees played in a variety of different decks here. And it's just neat. Not many people are playing the 1400 recruiters as well, so like you don't really need to worry about that too much. But yeah, I like it. I like it as well. Yeah, I just like ritual decks in general. Oh, well, speaking of the 1400 recruiters, one deck that is playing them is Machine OTK because they play UFO Turtle. So UFO Turtle will be able to attack here into the Sonic Bird and crash, get out another monster here, and just get a pretty good board state going. The question is, what do you go into off the turtle if you have the read that your opponent's going to go for Demise OTK next turn? Of course, you could have ways to stop Demise OTK, so it looks like they're just going to go for another turtle there, attacking in for 14, and then plus 12. So Gerbil already down 1 Demise activation. I mean, this is going to be a bit awkward here if they can't set up the combo, or if Wagamuffin has a bit of disruption to stop the combo. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit tricky here, no matter what happens. Gerbil does have 2 unknown draws here. Because we know the hand largely, but Papa Red asks, what ratios of ritual recruiters do you usually play in Demise? It really depends. Like, the deck is definitely not optimized at this point. People generally play 3 Manju no matter what. I've seen people play then also 2 Bird, 2 Senju. I personally prefer just 3 Manju, 3 Bird. But, like, I don't know. It really does depend. And that, Demise added back. Interesting stuff. So, is there going to be a dust shoot coming down now? Okay, ARA coming down, and there's the dust shoot. Rough stuff. I mean, that is sort of the flaw of Demise OTK, right? Everyone's playing dust shoot now, and dust shoot really does host this deck because if you can activate dust shoot when they activate an ARA, you're just dead, basically, or dead in the water. So it looks like there's Call the Haunted, Meta, Doom Dozer, and Snatch. Unfortunately, Manju cannot be triggered on special summon. That would be insane. But yeah, that's going to be very rough. So they lost both of their ritual components there in one go. Yeah, it's just like, oof, that's so rough. I don't really know what they do here, honestly. So we know also about the Call the Haunted and Metamorphosis here. Snatch Steel can't do anything on that board. It's just bleak here. It's looking bleak for Gerbil in this game 1. And things only get harder in game 2 because, there's more targeted side deck hate for Demise OTK. Yeah. Yeah, not looking good. But, there always is a game 2 and 3. And so we'll have to see if they're able to win those. It's a big thing from Gerbil here. Unfortunately, you can't snatch any of the UFO Turtle and Phoenix, so that's a bit awkward there. Yeah, there isn't really anything you can do. You can go Metamorphosis, Tribute the Manju, but, like, what did that do for you? Nothing. Yeah. No! You can't snatch! I mean, it's not destroyed, but, like, it is indeed negated. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of just the end of the game here anyways. Yeah. Well, actually, if you attack over... You can still attack over Phoenix with the Manju. Yeah, and then you get back the Turtle. But they probably have some way to stop this, I assume. Yep, there's the Mirror Force. So, yep, and that'll be the end of the game, likely. I think they won't gain the 1,000 life points because that is still an effect that is negated. So, yeah, next turn, maybe. They might get the Turtle next turn because they can attack over the Phoenix there. But yeah, I do believe the life points will be negated. Yep, and they will indeed. So this is going to be 3,600. Not looking good. Not looking too good. But, you know, we've seen people come back from this. Oh, no. Another Phoenix that will indeed protect the Turtle again. It's going to be 24 plus 14, so that's 3,800. So that means that even if Gerbil gets on the, Demise, card out, then they can't actually pop the board. So, I mean, yeah, it's like, I don't even know if you do this because Manju just gets crashed in with the Turtle. Oh, they already attacked him with the Turtle. That was a bit of a, okay, ring on the Manju. So they're trying to bait that out. So yeah, that will indeed be the end of the game because this is going to be 2,400 more. I mean, it's like, it's very over here. It's so over. Oh, you hate to see it. I'm trying to think what they could draw next turn. Like, you can't get into, I think, Card Trooper maybe into 2 Insects Engrave for, like, Doom Dozer, but then you still lose the following turn to just attacking over the Card Trooper. So, like, yeah, it's just going to be the end. Yeah, Demise Bros, it's over. Oh, it's not over yet, though. I don't think they would have gained the life points because the effect is negated, right? And it's not a maintenance cost, it's an effect, right? So I don't think they would have. I think, no, because I think the whole card is negated, right? I'm trying to think of another instance where this would happen. And no other cards. So, like, I'm trying to think of an example where this would actually matter outside of Snatch Steal and, like, what would happen in that case. I can't think of another thing where that specific interaction would come up. Maybe Nightmare Wheel. So if you activate Nightmare Wheel, do they still take the 500? I would say they don't take the 500 from Nightmare Wheel if, like, you're targeting a Cyber Phoenix in attack mode. But that'd be my guess. I don't know. Yu-Gi-Oh! Can get weird with its wording on things. I mean, that's why Diamond Dude, has you do the effect and not the cost, right? And so, like, there's some really unintuitive things in the game. So, yeah, I don't necessarily know how that works. Yeah, that'd be a question for a judge, but hopefully it doesn't come up again. Either way, it didn't matter there. Because Gerbil still lost that one, but yeah. Okay, Gerbil going first here, so they can potentially set up ways to get around Dust Shoot or Mind Crush. Like, Decree is a very good deck, or very good card to side in this deck. If you're worried about, Dust Shoot, Mind Crush, etc., it also shuts down their traps like Mirror Force and stuff, which is good. So, yeah, I mean, that is, if Gerbil side that in and drew it here, then that could be very good for them. But it is a bit tricky. I'll just see what Gerbil does here. It's also rough going up against Wagamama deck because they go into, like, Turtle, crash into your recruiter that you bring out, and then attack indirectly. That's annoying for you, but, like, can't really do much beyond that. Okay, looks like they're just going to set one, pass back. Not what you want to see out of the Demise ODK deck turn one, but, we don't necessarily know what that set card is. It could be something like Merchant. Merchant's a very interesting card that you could play in this deck. It is an insect. It is also something that gets insects engraved, gets you into your ARA. Like, there are multiple reasons to play Merchant in this deck, so I don't know if that's what it is or not, but it could be. But yeah, mill and 3. So it seems like Banisher is also a tech that is around here. Minecraft's luckily gone. That's limited in this format. So like now that's engraved, you don't have to worry about that. But you still have to worry about Dust Shoot here a fair bit. Tagging into a Sangan. Okay, Sangan's another good set there. So Sangan can get you into something like a Manju. You probably search out Manju here just to give your opponent as little information as possible of what you already have in hand. Looks like they're going to go for Senju here instead. So Senju means that they might have the ARA online, but they don't have the Demise. So, yeah, looks like Wagamama's going to set one. That's at least only one card to worry about as opposed to last game when they had 3 back row to worry about. But it also makes it kind of awkward if they've got, like, if Gerbil has, like, a Heavy Storm or something that they were holding, because now they can't really commit that as easily. But Gerbil thinking here, they're thonking. They're giving a big think. Can they do the OTK this turn? Depends on what that back row is. Might also depend on their own hand. But if they can, you probably just go for Heavy Storm and hope. You look at Senju coming down. Senju searching out a Demise, King of Armageddon. Look at Demise. They're much smaller in the artwork than in my thumbnail, but, you know, still, their eyes, you know, their eyes, they're there. ARA coming down here. So that's going to send a Neobug and probably a Neobug. Yep, 2 Neobugs there. And going for the Demise. Now, will Demise pop the board? Or will... Okay, looks like they will pop the board there. Will that be met with a Threatening Roar? No, it's just met with a Mirror Force. So very, very good stuff there to get that Mirror Force out of the picture. And just attacking him for 24. That's obviously very unfortunate for Gerbil here. They probably would have wanted to go for an OTK push. But they're just going to pass back. And, 5 cards in hand. What are those cards? What could they be? I don't think they're spells and traps, or else they would have set that because they're in a very, very precarious position here. But, you know, maybe they just held them because they're going to Demise pop the board here, and they don't want to lose them. But this is the last pop on Demise, so this is rough. You might honestly not want to Demise pop here because Mirror Force is gone, and that's the main battle trap you're worrying about. So there is an argument not to, but also there's an argument to do it because UFO Turtle is very annoying for you. Yeah, I don't know. It could be a card set as well. That's annoying if you pop it or attack over it. So this is very tough. And Demise OTK, it is a tough deck to play, right? You need to know when to go for lines. You need to know when to conserve your Demise pops and not. Like, it is very tricky. It's not just as easy as like, oh, you know, slam down the ritual combo and then go for a big play. They're going to go for heavy instead. And that's going to be met with a Threatening Roar. So probably good that they did not Demise pop there. Now they got their Demise for the following turn. They're just going to pass back to Wagamuffin here. Seems clear that Wagamuffin does not have a Snatch Steal in hand or a Brain Con already. They could draw into that, so that is something to consider. But it is going to be a bit tricky here for Wagamuffin because they're probably hoping that Gerbil would pop with the Demise there. Running into a Jinzo. Oh, Jinzo very good here. They can crash with the Demise. And yeah, Sangang can get a search there as well. So yeah, it's a pretty good position for Wagamuffin to be in. Of course, Miluxa Gerbil could go for another Demise play if they've got the resources to do so. But we'll have to see exactly if they do have that. So Trooper coming down, searched off the Sangan, makes sense. And that Jinzo is going to crash into the Demise there. This will allow Wagamuffin to potentially set some defensive traps or things like that. And yeah, it's a tough spot for Gerbil to be in. Not unwinnable, by the way. There are many, many ways to, you know, win the game from this position, but it seems like they're bricked on something. I don't necessarily know what they're bricked on. Doomdozer could have come down if they were bricked on that because Neobugs are in grave. Yeah, what are they bricked on? Maybe they're just holding their spells and traps because of the heavy and the Demise. That is also an option. So maybe they're not bricked on much. Maybe they just have a bunch of spells and traps they can't really necessarily use right now. Yeah, this is gonna be a tough call. They got to do something here because that Trooper is going to get them down below the point where they can use Demise because they will be at exactly 2,000 life points if the Trooper connects. So you got to do something here if you want to keep your combo online. Maybe wondering, do I go for the OTK this turn or is there a Threatening Roar in the back row? Definitely a tricky spot to be in. Yeah. I don't know who will win. The chat seems a bit split. It's 57% versus 43%. They currently favor Gerbil right now, but it is definitely a tough one. And I think Gerbil, I think they can take the time they need because, you know, this is the finals of the event. So, you know, I think it's perfectly fair But I'm thinking on this, especially because it is a very tough call. So, yeah. Definitely tricky. Tricky stuff here. What will happen? What would you do in this situation? Looks like Insect Knight's going to come down. It's going to be 1900 attacking in. Seems like they're bricked on some of their normal insects, maybe, as an option. And they're just going to pass back to Wagamuffin here. So this does preserve them above the 2,000 life point total if Wagamuffin did not have a way to deal with that Insect Knight. But it's definitely a bit of a weird spot for Gerbil to be in. It seems like they probably had some other move they could have done here that would have been a little bit more aggressive, but they wanted to hold back on that. Okay, Smashing is gone. That's nice. Also, Cursed Seal is a nasty card against this deck. That's really rough. Cursed Seal would stop the Ritual Engine entirely. But yeah, that is a brutal side deck card here. Setting another because Heavy is gone. Gotta think, is there a Cursed Seal back there? And if there is, can Gerbil recover from that? Now, I don't know if this deck does play Doomdozer, so, Doomdozer isn't necessarily stopped by the Cursed Seal. And one area is already gone through, so, there is, other options for Gerbil to do stuff with. But, yeah, Waga does seem pretty bricked up. It seems like they're not able to really do much here. But they could just be taking it slow because they've got outs to the Demise play. Bird coming down here. Bird getting that search. Okay, Pulling the Rug will activate, though. So, Pulling is a very, very good side deck card as well for this deck because Pulling hits all the recruiters there. So, yeah, it seems like it's kind of rough here. Not going for, an area if they've got it. They probably were thinking last turn, do I go for Sonic Bird into ARA into Demise? So that's probably what their big think was. And it seems like that would have gotten stopped by Rug. So I think the Insect Knight was the right play to go. It was the more defensive play as well. Because it does preserve your life points above that threshold that you need. But Dust Shoot getting fired here. Okay, very interesting. Seems like they're trying to do this to sort of, inform what play they make here. So yeah, even if they had, been able to pull off the area here, it would have been a bit rough. Sending back a Manju here. And what are they leaving in hand is the question. Seems like 2 Mega Armored Bug. Oh no. That is rough. Yeah, you don't want to draw those Mega Armored Bugs there. Overload Fusion will, I think, is this the end of the game? It might, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. So not quite the end of the game, but might as well be. If they've got any other monster here, this is the end of the game. But yeah, it's going to be pretty good. Pretty good draw from Ragamuffin there. And, yeah, if they got any other monster, they win. But this does, 3,200 is tough to get around here, actually. Yep, there's the monster, and that will be the end of the game. So, yeah, rough stuff for the Demise OTK. Machine winning it here. Still a very powerful deck from Chimera Tech. But, yeah, and this is sort of what I've been saying about Demise. A very, very strong deck if it's able to go off. But unfortunately, there are many counters to it. The people are playing the main and the side. Of course, there are, the deck did well enough to reach second here. It managed to top the last Demise event. Still a very good deck. I just think it's more probably tier 2 than tier 1. But again, people underestimated it before. They can underestimate it again. And it could definitely rise up again in the future. So that's going to be it for this locals here. Papa says rename to machine format. We've already got Chimera Tech format. We can't name another one to machine format. So I think we're going to keep it as Demise. I like Demise as sort of a flavorful name as well. Demise is it just grabs you, and this was an event that Demise did win, so there aren't too many that could be there. So yeah. Yeah, Waga wasn't even ready. I mean, even if the Sire Phoenix wasn't just anti-destruction, you were in a tough spot. I don't know what you could really do there. Yeah, it's just rough there, Gerbil. So not much you could have done. Yeah, especially having the Dust Shoot in the main is tough, and a lot of decks do have that, so it makes Demise OTK a bit rougher there, but still very, very good that you made it 2-2 here, and also you topped the Demise event, so you're showing that Demise OTK does have legs. It just does also have its outs, right? So the question is, how do Demise decks move forward? Do they potentially main deck things like Decree because you really want to stop those Dust Shoots? Unclear, and I'm not sure if there's necessarily an immediate answer at hand. But I do definitely think that, with things like this and with the deck doing well enough, people will still continue to experiment with it. That's actually a really good metaphor, Gerbil. They say Demise had legs, but no knee pads. And that is definitely how it feels playing the deck. You've got a lot of power, but, if someone aims a bat at your kneecaps, you're kind of hamstrung. So, yeah, it's definitely a very cool format, though. I hope you'll continue to explore it. I mean, it's definitely not gotten as many events in the past as some others, but I do hope that, with this locals and with my coverage of the format as well, people dive into a bit more because I think it is a fun format to play around in. But let me know down in the comments below what you think of this format. I'm going to be answering a lot of the comments that I've sort of let languish on the channel on some other videos here. So sorry if I haven't gotten to your comments yet. And you listed one. I've just been very busy IRL. I should also be releasing more videos at a more fast pace because lately I've had a lot of busy IRL stuff. Not bad IRL stuff, but just busy IRL stuff that I've been dealing with. So now I should be a little bit more free to make some videos and stuff. Zachary and Cheese says defense is still better than Chick-fil-A's new waffle fries. I'm not sponsored by Chick-fil-A, so maybe I shouldn't have read that comment, but I'm sure it is better than that. Yeah, although it's a very tough bar to clear, I think. But either way, that's gonna do it for this stream, and I hope to see y'all in the next one. Peace. See you then.